Do you support Nestle and others privatizing water in California and everywhere else?
No, but again, that's a bad negotiation tactic by the state. The states run into these revenue situations where they think that they can get more revenue from a big business than they can from local people. So they cut all kinds of corners and give them all kinds of grants, right? You see it all the time with states trying to recruit headquarters. And then they quietly give them $97 million over a course of a couple year period in tax breaks, right? So that's just really, really bad deals. What's happening in Michigan is incredibly offensive when you have a water crisis going on locally and then you have a big business paying $200 for all the water they can carry.
Yeah, I mean, but that's again, when you have two parties that are bought and sold by the same owners. And I know you're trying to be outside of this, but when you have that kind of system, and you also have, again, I mean, you want to talk about a lack of protections, and I'm careful to use the word regulation. I prefer to use the word protection because that's really what these are. When you talk about a lack of protection, what we do to the environment is absolutely insane. I mean, it's absolutely insane. We do not do the proper homework when it comes to pretty much anything. If there is a buck to be made for the oil and gas industry, and when you hear people in the science community, I mean, they're laughing about it to stay sane. They're like, this is even conservative leaning scientists are saying, yeah, this is nuts. We should not be fracking. We should not be doing any of this. But again, when you have the capitalism that we have, when you have the political structure that we have, this kind of stuff, I mean, it seems like it's going to continue to happen without significant oversight and changes in the way we do things.
Totally agree. Again, we were here in the 20s. We had to respond similarly in the 60s. We're just dumb monkeys. We make the same mistakes all the time. So we've gotten concentrated into an oligarchy, right? Where there's a handful of a cartel of companies in the country that control way too much. And to your point, buy and sell politicians on both sides. So we're here to fight that whole thing, that whole mechanism, by telling people you don't have to have over $1 million to make it to Congress in the age of the internet. I'm not going to send people every door direct mail. I'm not going to run television ads that no one's going to see. So we're trying to make some systemic changes. But I think that we have to retool the way we talk to people that don't believe in climate science, because I'm the guy whose conservative friends muted him on Facebook years ago because I was just shouting at people.
Well, did you tell them that you think the Earth is 6,000 years old? They would have liked you again.
That doesn't work. I mean, I've tried everything. So again, being in the investment world, finance world, 100% Republican almost, right? So I've been a closeted liberal for years by day, and then by night, feverishly on the old keyboard there. But my point is, you can't shame people into submission on any issue. And that's what I've seen us do on the left when it comes to climate science, is we just feel like we have the high horse here. So I can beat you over the head with statistics and tell you how stupid we are and remind you that Syria is in the Paris Agreement, right? Everyone is but us, but it doesn't get through to them. So we've got to start talking about it in ways that circumnavigate all the cognitive dissonance that they're dealing with, or else we're never going to find solutions. I mean, we're not going to be able to say that guy sucks more than me, vote for me, which is all anybody's doing. So when it comes to climate science, we have at my firm a renewable energy fund where we buy solar and wind farms and sell the electricity to utility companies. It's happening all over the country, and these utility companies are buying renewable power because of capitalism, because the price has now gotten competitive. So there's a whole different way we can approach the argument where, again, here in California, we employ so many people in the renewable sector, and we have such a healthy economy that you can easily point to us and just say, the idea that renewables kill the economy is stupid. The idea that fuel emission standards kill the economy is stupid. You can look at our state and say, that doesn't make sense economically, right? Because I told them all about the ice core samples, and they don't care.
Well, it's one of those things. I think part of that is the fault of the media. I mean, the reason climate science is so frustrating is because the evidence is all there. Whenever people say, "Oh, I don't believe in climate change," well, guess what? That's not something you get to believe in or not believe in. That's something that's there. That's evidence-based research. That is an evolving hypothesis. You get to believe or not believe in a supreme being. That's something that you can either choose to believe in or not believe in. You get to believe, something that can't be proven. You don't get to believe. You're either you're a denier. You're a climate change denier. So that's why it can be so frustrating. But that's because you have a media that presents it in such a neutral way. Why? Because they're funded by oil and gas companies. So they bring on Ken Ham as if he has something relevant to add to the conversation. And I think that's the problem there. I don't think it's just the left shaming people that are denying climate change.
So I agree with you from a macro perspective. The media, for two things that are wrong with the media. It's profit driven, so it's clickbait, right? So it's going to be sensational. It's always going to be sensational. We have to stop yelling at the media that's driven on profit for being a media driven on profit. It's going to give you Kardashians. It's going to give you Trump. It's going to give you things that excite in one direction or the other. But the longer that we all stay embroiled in that, the longer nothing gets done. So you've got to have a conservative family member that that still doesn't believe in climate science. You know that telling them stat after stat after stat after stat doesn't change their mind. I'm just asking you and anybody else, how do we get through to those people? Because the only way I've found is through economic argument, through the idea that clean air and clean water is not partisan, like you said earlier with water. I mean, look, Nixon signed the EPA and a lot of the Clean Air and Water Acts, but even stuff like that doesn't get through to people.
Oh, I'm with you there. I mean, I think that the biggest fault of, the Democratic Party, for one, and just our politics in general, is that nobody, at least nobody with power, is highlighting a Green New Deal. I mean, you can even look at the 2016 presidential just as an easy, for instance, it's not always the greatest example, but it's an easy one. Donald Trump made all these bogus promises for jobs in the heartland where people were desperate for jobs. And he won a lot of states that have been blue most of the time. Hillary Clinton didn't promise anything new. Instead of running on a Green New Deal, which she could have done, but she didn't want to do because she goes around the world promoting fracking. But if she would have done that, ran on a Green New Deal, she would have won all those states, hands down. I believe that. So, I mean, that's something that is a missed opportunity. So I think you're absolutely right. You have to take it from an economic perspective. Don't beat them over the head with, well, it's absolutely ridiculous you don't acknowledge this. I think you can point it out that it's like, look, pretty much there's consensus in the science community. And these people aren't, crazy lefties trying to fool you. These are scientists. That's what they do. A lot of the scientists I know are actually more conservative leaning politically. But that's one area where they're very much, quote unquote, to the left, but it shouldn't be left or right. It should be like, hey, this is the frickin' planet. We are by definition a virus on it. That is definitionally what we are. We are a walking virus. Don't get uncomfortable. Definitionally, that's what we are. We deplete the resources and then we move on. What?
I was just clarifying parasite.
Oh, parasite. All right, I'll take it. I
live on a host and feed off of its resources with no care for its well-being.
And then we move on.
Well, we think we will.
We hope we will.
Look, here's another thing that I get frustrated with. We joke about the people that think the planet's 6,000 years old. These are the same people that don't want to support us with climate change, right? Why can't we talk to them about the Garden of Eden and our duty to preserve the planet that was given to us, right? I mean, we've got to find, I don't know if it's going to work. I'm just saying we've got to find new ways to talk to these people.
So what you could do is you could try to tell these people that the reason we don't have talking snakes is actually because of climate change. They used to be around all the time, and then climate change wiped them out, a couple thousand years ago. And now they can't talk anymore because they're, the climate changing really fucked up their vocal cords. We could try that.
And the whale that Jonah lived in and the burning bushes, all these things went extinct because of climate change.
Increased precipitation really screwed up the burning bushes. The burning bushes were doing fine. They were just burning like a midnight oil song. And then they just
I hope you know all I'm picturing in my head right now is Mel Gibson's like History of the World.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. That was a clip from Get Your News On with Ron, the world's first viewer-curated streaming news show. What does that mean? That means I log on to a stream and people tweet me articles over on Twitter at Ron Placone, or they use our Reddit subsection, which is just Get Your News On with Ron over on Reddit. And that's how we build the show. I'm seeing all these articles for the first time. We are literally getting our news on together. Follow me on Twitter at Ron Placone so you can participate. And this show streams live every Tuesday through Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So please do tune in. If you want to support this show, you can do so over on patreon.com/Ron Placone, where for as low as $1 a month, you get access to exclusive podcasts every week, exclusive videos, free tickets to shows when I'm performing in your town, and more for as low as $1 a month. Please do consider it. Thank you so much for your support. This has been Get Your News On with Ron.